Boxing legend Chris Eubank Sr. talks about Kell Brook quitting versus Errol Spence Jr. Stay tuned. Boxingego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest. Now, I just watched a great interview with Chris Eubank Sr., the father of Chris Eubank Jr., also a former fighter himself, and it was real good stuff. It's on IFL TV. I have linked to it in the description in case you want to take a listen. And he talked about a touchy subject, which is the art of quitting, or the ideology of quitting in boxing. And then obviously the Kell Brook recent fight came up, UK fighter versus an American fighter. And I want to talk about what he said. Now, Chris Eubank, two things about Chris Eubank Sr. One, sometimes he's like, he misses me. Like, I think he says his son will do like 8 million pay-per-view buys or something. Like, what? He said he's gonna outdo Floyd Mayweather and stuff. Just like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? With the new platform. But I gotta say, in this interview, like, I understand where he was coming from. You know what I mean? I don't always agree with some of the more radical comments. The second thing with funny to me with Eubank is he always sounds so distinguished and proper. Is it the fans? They have a duty. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just funny how his cadence of how he talks. But check out the interview. Now, they were talking about just quitting in the sport of boxing, which obviously led to the whole Kell Brook situation. And Eubank says, and I quote, "Look, you can't continue if it's not within you. You will do what you are. If you do not have it in you, you will walk. You'll give up. And when you do that, you will get what you deserve in the public, which is a pat on the back. They'll say, hey, you did well, and your name will be forgotten. If you want the heart of the people, you must go above and beyond the call of duty in this, what you call a sport." He says, when a man should be able to go on as far as the fighter is concerned, and he doesn't, and the price they pay for quitting and stopping is lifelong. He says, equally, when you go beyond the call of duty, when you carry on, when you can't, or when you shan't, you will win what fighters are truly after. And he was basically saying the hearts of the people. It looks like fighters are after the belts. They're not after the belts, they're after the hearts, the love from the people, and you need to get that by going beyond the call of duty, right? And it's a pretty lengthy interview. He also said, you feel yourself lucky for taking a beating that is unbearable. That is a lucky position to be in, because it is at this point that you are able to show what you're really about. To be great at anything, when the opportunity to be great or show that you have the ability to step up to the plate, it's an opportunity and a curse at the same time, because it's not like you want to be in that position, right? And he was basically saying that being the underdog or being in a situation where you feel you can't go on, that puts you on a platform to show how great you are. He said that's why people like the Rocky movies, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He said I can keep going on because they resonate with that. And he says, because Chris Eubank Jr., his son, has basically said things that he like basically outed Kell Brook and looked down upon it for him quitting in the fight. You know what I mean? And I said this before, you could call it whatever you want. Oh, he could have went blind. He quit. Doesn't matter what I told you. I had a teacher and they said, what's the difference between a reason and an excuse? What's the difference? You know what I mean? He quit. He quit. A quit is a quit is a quit. You could say he had rightful cause to quit, but it's still a quit. And you know, I like, for me, I respect these guys that lace them up. I think Kell Brook did show heart in the previous round, I think round 10, because he was hurt in that round too. And then he fought and maybe emptied out his tank trying to fight back. And then 11th, he was exasperated. So that's up for debate how you feel about that. But we can't play semantics and like skirt around the issue. He quit. Lucas Matisse versus Victor Postal, he quit. Julio Cesar Chavez versus Fonfara, he quit. You know what I mean? Victor Ortiz quit, right? Who just did Gamboa? Yuriorkis Gamboa, versus Robinson Castellanos, he quit. You know what I mean? That's what it is. And see, we live in such a society they want to be PC so bad where they can't call things what they are. You know what I mean? Like, if I have criticism for a fighter, if I say like, hey, I think you shouldn't have gave up your belt, or I don't like this fight, then I'm a hater. I hate that fighter. It can't be I have a love and affinity for the sport and I want the greater good. It's I hate that fighter, or I'm racist or something. And that's the society we live in. But let's be real and call it what it is. And I told you this in my post-fight. Kell Brook quit. Now, again, if you want to argue that he had rightful cause to quit, that's going to be up to interpretation. But I do understand what Senior is talking about. He's saying that my son is trained by a fighter. I was a fighter. So he's been cultivated in this fight game. And this is like gladiatorial duties. Like, this is not, he said, this is not a video game here. You know what I mean? He said, this is not a game. He said, boxing is all too serious. And he says, that's why you look at any other game, you could call it timeout. You could press pause. He said, boxing is not like that. So, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. You know what I mean? So it just kind of boils down to how you view it, if, you know what I mean, as a person. But I understand him. I mean, even Gervonta Tank Davis, another fighter, also who had the same belt that Kell Brook had, he tweeted and he said, how can you quit in front of 27,000 of your fans? You know what I mean? Almost 30,000 people. So it's not just Eubank Jr. Now, again, some people aren't going to agree. They're like, oh, life after boxing is more important. And what if he would have went blind? But you got to look at it like this. Boxing, the reason I understand what Chris Eubank is saying because I'm thinking in terms of a fighter. Like, as a person, you look and you're like, oh, okay, Kell Brook did what he had to do. But you have to think in the mind of a fighter. In the mind of a fighter, you're never out of the fight. Like, he's referencing the Rocky movies. Rocky was getting his ass beat, and, you know what I mean, taking 1,000 punches, and ultimately he would come back, Drago, you know what I mean? But obviously that's a movie. But you got to look at the mind of a fighter. What he's saying has validity, and I've read several quotes about this. They says basically quotes like, if you believe you can succeed, then you can. But if you believe that you'll fail, then you will, because it's all in the mind. And that's kind of what he's saying. You know what I mean? If you really think about it, that's pretty much what he's saying. In the grand scheme of things, if you look for an excuse and then you go out like that, like, you know what I mean? Oh, my eyes, it's tingling and stuff. Then ultimately, that's your way out, so to speak. And we've seen it. Like Gamboa has power. You know what I mean? So we don't have to use Kell Brook right now. We'll use Gamboa. Gamboa has power. So he was getting hurt, he got dropped, but he was still cognizant. If you're cognizant enough to quit on the stool and say, no, I don't know more, I don't want more, Papi, you know what I mean? And you can talk and stuff like that, then you could possibly go on. But Gamboa, maybe the beating from Terrence Crawford and being knocked down other times in his career and being on long layoffs and how his career's been managed, he in his mind made a decision like, you know what? I don't deserve this, and I'm not trying to make it worse. So he's already broken. He's already made the choice to find his exit. You know what I mean? Exit stage left. Same thing with Lucas Matisse. Lucas Matisse has crazy power. Victor Postol is not even the strongest puncher, but he was broken. His spirit was broken, and he was been through some tough fights with Danny Garcia, John Molina, tough fights, and he made a decision. Oh, I felt something in my eye. Plus, things aren't going my way. So he quit versus Postol. You know what I mean? He was hurt or knocked down or whatever. So, I mean, I understand what Eubank is talking about. Seriously do. And sometimes he's way off to me. Sometimes he says some, like the 8 million pay-per-view buys and all that. Sometimes he's way off. But I do understand what he's talking about. Now, the sympathetic human side, obviously I understand Kell Brook doesn't want to go blind. But that is the worst case scenario. Like, it's possible. And you know what people always do? People always, when they want to make a point, they always shift to the most extreme side. But you got to look at it. Boxers from a young age know the dangers of boxing. I've seen fighters with broken jaw. Muhammad Ali had a broken jaw and kept fighting, right? I've seen fighters with broken hands, fractured hands. Deontay Wilder versus Chris Arreola, and he kept fighting, right? So he made that decision that, hey, even though my hand is fucking killing me, I'm gonna keep throwing these hard punches. You look at Lomachenko, I think he was on a Pacquiao undercard. He had a fractured hand. I know that has to hurt, you know what I mean? But pride and adrenaline and knowing that, okay, this is 36 minutes of work and we already got through 20 minutes. Let me just hang in there, you know what I mean? So it is kind of a conscious choice, because when the other way that you're not quitting is if you get knocked out. And you know that's a possibility and you don't want to see that happen, so you find your own exit strategy, you know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what it is. That's what he's talking about. So, I mean, I really do understand it. Like I said, the human side, I can understand Kell Brook not wanting to go blind. I mean, no one would want to go blind. But what he's saying, and I agree with, is if you're a fighter, you know the dangers of your job, like in general. You know what I mean? Just like I was watching one of the most dangerous jobs in the whole world is those crab fishermen. They get sick. Obviously the weather conditions are shit, and sometimes they get like lack of food, or didn't have enough food, or a horrible storm. You know what I mean? Just like I said, the cold climate and stuff. It's a dangerous job. They get paid handsomely, but they know if they go out to sea and leave their family behind, there is a chance that they might not come back for whatever reason, right? Same thing. My brother's a cop. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? God forbid, obviously I would never want anything, knock on wood, to happen to my brother, but as a police officer, he knows the dangers of his job. So what Chris Eubank is saying does make sense. You know what I mean? It's no different from a highway patrol. Why do you think they have bulletproof vests and they go to police academy and shooting drills and stuff like that? Because they want to best be prepared for the moment. And I've already told you with Kell Brook. Or another example would be a Secret Service agent, right? A Secret Service agent, and you're hired to protect the president. That's your job. That's your special training. So if there's a situation that endangers the president and somebody pulls out a gun, that's like, you know what I mean? Where you're going to say, oh, hell no, I ain't trying to get shot. I ain't ready to die. I ain't Biggie. You know what I mean? But that's what you've signed up for ultimately, to protect that asset. You know what I'm saying? So it's a cruel world, but these are facts. Like, nobody wants to die. Nobody, well, I mean, most people don't. Most people don't want to get shot, things like that. But again, if you're a Secret Service agent and there's a hostile situation, you know the dangers of that. That's all I'm saying. I respect him. I like Kell Brook. I thought the money grab with Golovkin really wrecked his career, because now it's all what if, you know what I mean? You went and fought a bigger, stronger guy, and you got your will broken in that fight. So I told you this in the 7 reasons. As soon as the going got tough, go listen to the 7 reasons. I might even put the clip in this video just to show you guys. This is before the Brook Spence fight happened. I told you what was going to happen. I really believe if the fight was in the trenches and spirits were getting broken and it was a battle of attrition, fatigue was naturally setting in, then Errol Spence would just have more of a stern mentality, and that's exactly true. The fight was harder for him in the beginning than it was in the second half, but he was mentally strong because he still doesn't know how to lose at the moment. You know what I mean? He's still undefeated. Kell Brook, he just came off a loss and took another tough fight, which was a dumb decision. And when the going gets tough, he found a way out, and that's pretty much what Eubank is saying. So, is pressure. Errol Spence Jr., one thing he does, he cuts off the ring and he puts that Dallas pressure on you. To me, that's kind of goes back to what I was saying. That creates memories, because who else is another pressure fighter that he just fought? Gennady Golovkin. Golovkin's a boxer puncher, but he also he stays on top of you, right? And that's going to give some ill will and bad memories to me for Kell Brook. Because when you're getting pressure like that, you have to worry about your eye. You got to be like, man, how do I create distance? How do I get this guy off of me? You know what I mean? Who's the better inside fighter? And I think Kell Brook is more of the boxer at range, mid-range, out-range boxer. So I think Errol Spence will do the better inside work. And he's going to really have to find a way to keep and deter the young, hungry, fresher lion off of him for 12 whole rounds. You know what I mean? Knowing that he's just coming off of a tough fight, no tune-ups, and dealing with that constant pressure, and pressure busts pipes. And I really think the Errol Spence Jr. pressure will amount and it's going to be kind of a war and battle of attrition. And naturally, like I believe, is the guy who's fresher, who's doing the better inside work. You know what I mean? Because both fighters, this is a 50-50 fight. Make no mistake about it. I think both fighters are going to do good work. I don't think it's a runaway fight where Errol Spence won't be challenged. I mean, and if he isn't challenged, then that's just a testament to where he's really at. But I think it's a difficult fight. I give it to you real. You know what I mean? I'm picking Spence, and I'm giving you the reasons why I feel that. But I don't make no mistake about it. Brook is a quality fighter, and he does have things to offset Spence. But I think Spence's pressure is going to really eat away at Kell Brook. And especially with him jumping down in weight and ballooning up in his off season, going up to middleweight and coming back down, remembering the Golovkin fight and actually tasting defeat, I think that's going to give him some issue, which leads to my number 6 reason: confidence, battle of wills. To me, Errol Spence would win this department because, again, he's the fresher fighter and he's the undefeated fighter. Kell Brook is undefeated at welterweight, but career-wise, he just lost his last fight. So when it comes to the attrition battle, and they say if it's too hot, stay the fuck about the kitchen. I think when it gets hot, I just think Errol would win that battle of attrition, that shootout, if you will, because he knows what he's in there with. I don't know. I know people are gonna try to spin it and make it like I'm some satanic worshiper or something, like, oh, you just want to see a man die. Like, that's never been my character. You know what I mean? I don't want to see anybody get hurt. Like, so I understand premature stoppage, but what Eubank saying to me makes sense, and it is really because he's basically, to paraphrase, he's saying that as a fighter, you're programmed to not give up, to not quit. Like Eminem said in Till I Collapse. He was just like, you got to find that motivation within you to not give up and not be a quitter, no matter how hard. You know what I mean? That's exactly the mind of a fighter. You have to push through those moments. And even if you get knocked out, then people are like, oh, damn, Errol was too much. You know what I mean? But you have to have that self-belief, because if you don't have that self-belief, then at the end of the day, you've already made it okay to lose. You get what I'm saying? Kell Brook is a big welterweight. Errol Spence was inexperienced. So he showed heart, and then he just literally walked over and took a knee. Like, nah, I'm cool. And then it looked like there was maybe some communication, and then Dominic Ingle kind of looked at him and waited off. He's seen his fighter was broken, but it was because of how he responded. You could tell Kell Brook didn't want to continue that sustained behavior. And boxing is cruel, but people don't like when people display symptoms of lack of heart. And I know it's easy for people to say, like me, making videos, and other people in the comment section, because we're not in there. So who knows, if we're in those situations, maybe it'd be different. But most of us, the people who are commenting, haven't been trained for their whole lives in that. You know what I'm saying? So for them to not understand it, there's a reason for that. But if a person commenting on YouTube had been trained in a martial art from age 6 all the way to age 29, then it would be different. You know what I mean? They would be like, okay, I'm not quitting. I've trained for these moments. Do you get what I'm saying? So Kell Brook is that. Kell Brook has been a fighter all his life. He knows the dangers. He knows the chance for injury. He knows he's in a brutal sport. You know, every fighter should know you got to improve and work upon your defense. You know what Errol Spence was. You said he was Jeff Lacey. So again, it's not about seeing a man get knocked out brutally or be left with health problems. And that's what people try to spin it to, because we live in such a PC climate. People don't just want to say what it is. They're like, oh, Gerald McClellan. Like, that is a super unfortunate situation. Muhammad Ali, rest in peace, one of my favorites. He had the shakes and stuff like that. The 15 rounders obviously maybe added up, but nobody wants that. Nobody's requesting that. But again, if you have 27,000 of your fans and you're in the 11th round, maybe you could try to gut one out or whatnot. But literally the pressure, like I think it's more so the manner in which Kell Brook did it. You know what I mean? He literally walked away, like casually walked away, and then just sat down and took a knee, and then that was the end of the fight. You know what I mean? So that it displayed more Like if he had got stopped in the previous round, in round 10, he was just like, oh, damn, and then the ref called it off, then that would have been something. But he literally did the Tim Tebow and took a knee, which maybe he felt he had to do that, but it's unfortunate. I feel bad for Kell Brook because I think he normally is a warrior, but that Golovkin fight and having too much ambition really hurt his confidence, I think, because he lost. You're no longer undefeated, and that's what happens. Like I've seen it time and time again. The people who have quit, usually they're okay with quitting again. You've already done it. You know what I'm saying? Victor Ortiz, he quit in the Maidana fight earlier. That's a red flag right then and there. You know what I mean? It's just like you got to look for the red flags. You know what I'm saying? And the fight with or like just say like a relationship. Say a girl gets with a guy, hooks up with a guy, and they're 4 months into their relationship and he's already cheating. What do you think is going to happen 2 years from now when you married him? You know, you think it's impossible or inconceivable that he would cheat? No. You know what I mean? That's the unfortunate thing with quitting. When people quit in professional sports, then a lot of times it resurfaces if they're in a similar situation, because you've conditioned your mind to accept that instead of like, oh, I'm gonna go out on my shield. Like Gabe Rosado's face was bloody, and he was probably complaining that the Golovkin fight was stopped, and he's leaking. You know what I'm saying? So that's a person that he showed time and time again. He's not quitting. He's not gonna quit. You have to Angulo him and knock him out or whatever, but he's not gonna quit on his own free will. And that's what Chris Eubank is kind of talking about. Like people like that, you could say, oh, Rosado has so many losses, but there's no one that doesn't call Rosado a warrior. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of depends on what you want to be, and you know what I mean, health comes first and how you interpret it. But that's just my breakdown. Check out the interview. Let me know what you think. Drop it in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.